5. Very good afternoon to you all, and thank you for making time to have the conversation around the Gen Z, with our theme being the Gen Z new era. First of all, I'd like to commend all the Gen Zs on the panel on my behalf, on behalf of the Gen Zs in my house and those in my surroundings. I say a big kudos to all of you for the show you have shown in the last few days, the way you conducted yourself, the way you have been peaceful, the way you have been organized, just the way you run things. It's amazing, and I must say, it cannot go unnoticed that you guys are a whole amazing lot. Having said that, again, I'll say karibu sana to those that are joining in. I would like to introduce my panelists of the day, so that you know who we have on board. I'll start with Miriam Kadel. Miriam Kadel is an auditor. She's, of course, within the Gen Z bracket from Kitui West, and she will be participating as a panelist on this show. Thank you, Miriam, for joining in. You can wave at us so we see your face before we come into the main discussion. So that's Miriam. Karibu, Miriam. We have Solomon on the panel. Solomon Kimanzi is a digital marketer. He's also a CEO of a digital company. A Gen Z in his own right and age. So we'll be shedding light also on what his experiences have been during the campaign and what the Gen Zs are doing and where they are heading with this. Glad to have John. Solomon, can we see your face? Just wave at us. Yeah, so that's Solomon Karibu Sana. John Wambua is a student and a student leader of one of our universities. He's in Laikipia University. He's actually the president of the students of Laikipia University. John, you can wave at us. He comes from Kitui West as well. Of course, to talk to us more about the Gen Zs and how well versed they are with the issues of governance and how well they are prepared, even as a leader, the leader he is, how he feels that the Gen Zs are prepared for leadership in their spaces and also in the country at large. We have, like I said, Catherine, who is also a parent of Gen Zs. Catherine is a clinical psychologist. She's also a consultant on mental health issues, and she works a lot with young people. So she understands Gen Z in the wider bracket of the young people. She will be, of course, moderating together with me on the other side of the generation that is not them. Karibuni sana. I'll just go straight to Miriam and ask a very simple question. Who are the Gen Z? Just enlighten us so that we know, so that when we see a Gen Z, we can identify one.
Okay. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can, Miriam. Miriam? Oh, yeah, okay, she's there. Yeah. So, Miriam, unmute yourself. Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
So as you've heard, I'm Miriam, and I will take you through on who the Gen Zs are. We are quite a misunderstood generation. So the Z, I bet, means Zoomers. It's people who are born majorly between 1995 to like 2012. But those brackets, I don't know, they play around online and stuff like that. But generally, the Gen Z is the woke generation. And you could easily characterize Gen Zs with like particular attributes, which I will go over very quickly. So Gen Zs are first and foremost, they're growing up. But I think now we're taking over stuff because we're quite really vocal. They're growing up. These people prioritize so much on saving money. Most of the Gen Zs, they love to travel. Gen Zs are prone to anxiety, probably because we are in an era where we access a lot of information, and we basically, or for lack of a better word, we are not yet well guided on how to, use all the information we have access to. So there's so much anxiety in this generation because you're having access to a lot of resources and you don't know how to put them into use all at once. The environmental attitudes are not as strong as you think. We are people who have been born in the AI era, which is a good and a bad thing also. Gen Zs are very open-minded, unlike the other generations, who are very close-minded. They are people who want to stick to a particular way of doing things. Yeah, and stuff like that. You can say Generation Z is just a free generation, really, in a nutshell.
Good. Now we do know who the Gen Zs are. I've been told so many things about Gen Zs that they are walk, they are real, they are the people who don't miss their words. They are the people who, are very open-minded and that kind of thing. And yeah, we appreciate, of course, Gen Z because they are the people that are coming in after our generation is tired and retired. And so we are really, really interested in understanding you guys and in seeing how we will support you into the future through your agendas and all. But now, there's being a bit of, like Miriam said, you're a misunderstood generation. And I really don't think it's that you're misunderstood. It's just that from what I get from the older generation is that you are sorry, quote unquote, a bit unserious, a bit inconsistent, a bit advanced with the issues, and there has been, and that's why I want to come to Wambua and ask this question. How well informed are the Gen Z in terms of how matters in this country are run? Do they understand what a finance bill is? The other day there was a rude comment on Twitter of someone who said Gen Z doesn't understand what a finance bill is. They don't even know it comes once every year. They don't even know. Is that true? Just that I really am an addict.
So should I answer that?
I know there's a raise from Martha. Yeah. I'll come back to you, Miriam, and then I'll go.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Martha.
I want to answer that question that you've said. Some people are saying, we are not aware of what's going on. Some people don't even know what the finance bill is about. But the thing is, most of the Gen Z age brackets, these are people who are educated. These are people who've gone to university. These are lawyers. These are journalists. These are people who are doing like big careers and who are sharp. And these are people who have literally gone through the finance bill and read it. So I think there's a misunderstanding that people think that since we are young, we don't have enough knowledge. But then knowledge doesn't come with age. Knowledge comes with reading. Knowledge comes with getting information from resources. And I think that the Gen Zs have those resources and they're utilizing them. Therefore, they have enough information.
Okay, Miriam.
Yes, Liz.
Yes, respond to that concern.
I want to respond to it in a very subtle way, but just like Martha has said, the Gen Z population, it's people who are educated. If you look at the people who are dissecting the finance bill, people at KPMG, PwC, those people are in the Gen Z bracket, because I feel like when people talk about Gen Zs, they just want to focus on the small group that maybe appear as ignorant to whatever is happening. But we are quite in touch with whatever is happening. In as much as the finance bill is a 500-page booklet, we have gone through it, we understand what is in it, and when people are in the streets, they know why they're demonstrating. I mean, all that energy, it really must come from somewhere.
Good. John, what do you have to
Yes,
say about that notion or that
about finance.
that misplaced assumption that the Gen Zs are not very informed on matters?
So basically, as Mother has said, and also maybe you are very informed. You are well informed with this finance bill. For a matter of fact, before that bill came to Parliament, to get some of us, we had the soft copy of the, and so we had read each and every points that they were discussing about tax, whatever, and so on and so on. So our issue is, it's not that we are not informed. We are very informed, and the reason behind it rejecting or we are fighting against finance bill, we have so many foundations and we have so many reasons behind it. Because if you get to that finance bill, or let me not get into detail to that finance bill, but basically some of the taxes which are being taxed as the young people, you find majority of the people who are being taxed, let me say so, are these people who are already in the job market, that is, and they in one way or the other, we feel the weight when you get that you are doing you have just started your business, or you have just started your company, or of whatever kind that you are gaining some amount. At that point, the government instead of uplifting you, it is coming there to take what you have. So we find it very difficult on our side when such bills get to Parliament, and the people that we are interested in for those seats to go and represent the common mwananchi, or we as youth, they are not doing what is expected of them. So matters to do with this bill, we are well informed. We have each and every information about it. What we are fighting for is our inclusivity. We want to be heard. We want to be seen. Let us be part and parcel of that bill, that it is benefiting us and not taking what belongs to us in total. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, and there's one thing you said which I think I resonate with you. When you say you are the Gen Zs, you are the people that are running startups currently, that you have just come from college, there are no jobs, so you started your small business, and taxation has not even had you settle down, and we are already taxing you. And yeah, I feel you on that, and I think there was a very clear idea initially of startups being given, I don't know, a couple of years to settle in before they start paying taxes. I don't know how that went. I don't know that it is in the tax regime. I don't know whether it just got lost somewhere. But there was a conversation around how new businesses should be exempted from taxes for the past, I don't know, 5 years or something like that. Solomon, I'll come to you with a very specific question on the last few days event. You were on the streets, were you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you were on the streets. What took you to the streets? At what point did you decide now I have to?
I would like to address that question with also answering the previous question. And allow me to be the devil's advocate a little bit for us Gen Zs and say that, in truth, a lot of us were probably going to the streets. And I remember asking a couple of people questions like, so what's the specific reason why you rejected the financial bill, And most of us, either, let me not say most of us, but some of us we're not very knowledge, we're not very versed with the financial bill as an entirety.
Solomon, there's a bit of noise. I don't know if it's coming from your side or somewhere else. Probably
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I'll just speak into the mic. Like I said yesterday, and I've gone there 2 days. We went there first on Tuesday, and then on Thursday. And I remember asking a couple of my friends, just people who had met there, what is the major reason why you are rejecting the finance bill? And like I said, I want to be the devil's advocate a little bit and say that not all of us have probably read the 500-page bill. And what I would hope that we are not is having the mob mentality, which we have been accused of having, that we are actually going to the streets with informed knowledge and maybe even possible solutions. Why we are rejecting it or not, there has to be. So the major question that we would love to address is, okay, we are rejecting it. These are the reasonable solutions. Were chaotic and beautiful. It was beautiful to see my generation just being extremely vocal. It was wonderful to see us coming together and not being afraid. Tear gas, the water sprays from the police. I loved the fact that we were united, we were together. Our placards also were very elaborate, and just making sure that the message that we're trying to put across is addressed.
Thank you, Solomon. I have Miriam who wants to say something, and then I'll go to Courtney. We're still on what were the streets like? What did it make you feel as a citizen of this country, being on the street, and how was the general experience there?
Of course, I like what Solomon has contributed to the conversation, but I'd like to pose a challenge to him, yeah? When people say the Gen Z have a mob mentality, I think the people who even have a bigger mob mentality than us are our elected leaders. Because these people can't stand up for something like genuinely and say, this is wrong, this is wrong. Have you seen how they come together and just want to support something to just look like tuko pamoja na chama, tuko pamoja na wakubwa? I feel like if we are not really careful, these other people are going to bully us into thinking that really there's nothing that we are doing. Regardless of whatever they say, you still need to remember that, we're doing this for our generation. There's no mob mentality. These people know what they are fighting. Hata kama mtu tu aliinfluensiwa na kuona brother yake akienda kwa street, that is enough reason to say that this thing is really, it's really angering my brother or my sister, so I'm going to support them in this. And not saying, wacha akapiganie shida zake peke yake. I think it means something. So that thing of mob mentality is what I'm just being like, no, actually the other generations have a bigger mob mentality than the Gen Z. Yes.
Thank you, Miriam. A good point there to observe and to note. Courtney, you are on the line. Unmute yourself and talk to us. Make your contribution.
I hope you can hear me. There is not much of background noise.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I have a few points. I like what Solomon has said because I also experienced the same thing yesterday. I didn't ask anybody, but I just happened to hear someone asking ati wewe hata unajua huku nje unafanya nini? Nasema mimi hata sijui finance bill iko na nini, lakini najua tu ni mbaya. So I had that and I really thought about how not everyone has the same access to information. Yes, Gen Z is the informed generation, but the level of access is different depending on where you are and the ability and your ability to access that information. That said, I think it's a challenge to us as well, even as the ones who are better informed, to inform our fellow Gen Zs and anybody else, regardless of your age or generation, because it affects all of us. So when you know something, it's now upon us. We have to take it upon ourselves to educate other people, to educate the people who don't have the same access that we do, because most of us have access to internet, have access to social media, but there are those who do not, and they're just, yes, they're being carried. They might be carried along with the same mob mentality that, yes, you're going to protest the finance bill. They don't know what exactly we are protesting. Some of us know, some of us do not. But at the same time, we need to have that for us to actualize this so-called revolution that is starting. And it is a revolution because the numbers yesterday, even in rural areas like in Nyeri, the numbers yesterday were very, very, very massive. And I can imagine now how it was in Nairobi. I've seen the videos. It's not for us to actualize this revolution, for us to make a change. We can't afford to leave people behind, because yes, indeed, we are the majority, but we need everybody. We need everybody to make a change, because this affects our lives even as young people, even as we are getting to the years, to our most productive years. We can't afford to sit back and watch them, like the leaders, just throw things away and make decisions that don't affect that and do not have us in mind. We need everybody. We need everybody to be aware. We need everybody to play a part, and so that even when we get to elections in 2027, we have the numbers that we have had recently in the last week. They have to actualize. We have to see them in reality. So I guess that's
So,
all I have.
Courtney, allow me to ask you this question. And I know you're talking about different youth or different Gen Zs don't have the same level of access to information. So,
Yeah.
assuming you were to mobilize Gen Zs to go to the street,
Yes.
what would you tell them would be the main reason of going to the street? What was your bone of contention? What made you think this one is enough, I need to be on the street? And how would you have convinced somebody who didn't have the same information to get out of it?
Okay, for me, there are a number of things. There are so many things. I think the one that really struck me the most was this VAT on cancer treatment. It's really, really sad. And I've actually seen a few minutes ago on Twitter that one of the MPs who voted yes to the finance bill was on television not so long ago talking about how he lost his daughter to cancer, and yet he voted yes to the finance bill. It's just crazy. But one of the things that really struck me was this tax on this law that they want to pass, that your land you'll have to lease it. It won't be yours. It will be leased by the government. Like, you have to pay tax on it. There's so many things. The increase in taxation on financial services. Yet we are struggling we are coming on our feet as young people. If now they start these financial services that are supposed to help us, even if we have startups, even when we have businesses, they're going to cripple the growth and even just kill them from the beginning. But majorly and overall, I ask myself why they are taxing us. Yes, taxes are not bad. Tulipe ushuru tujitegemee, but what are these taxes doing for us? The previous year's finance bill, it passed, yes, but what has it done for Kenyans up to this point, so that they come and say that they want to increase this taxation? My major problem is we are being taxed, but you're not seeing the fruits of our taxes. You're not seeing where this money is going. Government services are still a headache to majority of Kenyans, if not all. There are no vaccines for children. That one is just, it's very, very sad. there are no vaccines for children. Like the major pillars of the economy and the society are struggling, yet they still want to increase taxation. And these pillars of society are the things that we as young people are looking up to. They are the things that we, even as we grow, because this movement is millennials and Gen Zs. Millennials are there. They're like in the thick of it. They know wao ndio wameshaanza kupitia. Us we are tunawafuata, but we can already see how education, health, agriculture, these sectors are they're struggling, extremely struggling, and without them we can't have a country. So those are the things that I would tell anyone else who I would use to educate the people who don't have access to this information.
Thank you very much, Courtney. Thank you for your contribution, quite insightful there. John, as a leader of young people, what are the major issues that made you guys think now it's too much, we have to go to the streets? Just 2-3 main issues, where the pain really hurt most.
Okay, so point number 1, let me talk about, I have like 3 main points. We have empowerment, employment, and education. When we get to empowerment, I guess right now, majority of the politicians or the leaders, they are finding it really difficult to empower young people. The reason behind it, because they fear these people will come and overturn them or outdo them. The other thing is unemployment. Each and every time we are being told about it will be employment for a certain specific group of people or a certain number of young people, and it has never come to fulfill. The other point is this point of education. When you get to education, basically that point of about going for mob something. Like we are student leaders. Majority of us, we are the one who are getting those groups. We are the one whom we are encouraging our students to participate in those demos. The reason behind it, there is this, when they are talking about education having been allocated much money, but the universities, you get the amount of help that was allocated in previous years. This year there was a slight slash of that money, whereby you get the student whom graduated from Form 4, that those who are joining campus, that is August and September, like only 17% will benefit from that money which is allocated for the help.
Yeah.
At the same time, you get there are some students who never got capitation in the previous semesters. Their batches were never paid. That is the other thing. So despite we have those people who are not well informed, but we are student leaders. If you try to check the big number which is coming for those demos, or whom they are showing up for those demos, majority of them are comrades. One thing, a comrade will be there to fight for his or her own benefit, because when this help get slashed, so it means they are disadvantaged in one way or another. The other thing is, you find some of the institutions, there is increment in, let me say, fee, or there is some seclusion, like students who are in private universities. They are not getting capitation from the government, so they are somehow discriminated. So we are student leaders in those platforms. We have so many platforms at each and every county, whereby if we decide for a specific day we want to do those demos, we will go, we as student leaders, all our comrades, and even those who are not informed, so that we can try to get to the point whereby if the government can listen to us. The other point is, there was it was around April, May, on the onset of April, May, before the bill was brought to the parliament. We had a meeting with these politicians. One of them was this Bindi Nyoro, MP Kiharu, and Babu Wino. And we echoed about that slashing of the help allocation, which they didn't consider after telling them. On top of that, it was on month of May, we had a conversation with the Ministry of Education. All our grievances that we gave to them and the recommendation that they can look into for the students, they didn't. We were even aired when advocating for those recommendations. They didn't even air whatever we talked about. So sometimes we get to a point whereby it's like some of the forums which are being brought by the government to either to talk about something, it's like behind each and every plan, there is someone who is benefiting from either those meetings or those plans. Because some of the grievances or some of the recommendations that we are giving out, they are never heard, and they are not ready to do anything about them. So that's what's encouraging us and making us to go to that extent that we can push. We mobilize our students, we mobilize even those who are in the villages who doesn't know anything about finance bill. We just tell them it is just bad, because we are looking upon where we can benefit we as students. Yeah. So I guess I have
Yes.
I guess I have talked about empowerment, employment. There are so many people of unemployment, because right now we are in holiday. There are some few young people, the Gen Zs, who are not either studying, they are just idle. Such a person, he is unemployed, and when the others, his or her peers, they are in the streets advocating for this thing is bad, it's not benefiting us, that person will just get that time to come and demonstrate. So it is high time the government can check to our issues, even if they will not clear them all. If they can do a bit by a bit, it will be very good. Like when you get to the point, they are talking about this stuff of building those affordable housing. When you get to, as in, when you compare this government to the previous government, there is a big disparity, of which in previous government, you find if, I guess majority of the young people, they had something to do. Such that when you were hearing about the demonstration, it was just for the millennials and those other levels who are older than the Gen Zs. So it is high time the government can listen to us, we as Gen Zs, because I guess we are the majority, according to me, and we have shown with no doubt that we are ready to fight for what is ours. So that is it.
Thank you, John. I'll go quickly to Miriam before I go to Catherine. Miriam, I would like to ask, and I know because you're an auditor,
Yes.
you would know the concern I'm raising.
Sorry?
You guys organize did you guys not organize yourself a little bit too late? Because by the time this bill was going through the stages that it went through, and coming to public participation and going in for the parliamentarians to be able to what's it called, to make their submissions and even vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
At what point should Gen Z actually have played a very active role? Is it not during public participation? Although, and I understand John has just said some of the sentiments that they gave were not taken into account. But I'm also hearing that the issues coming out most are not really the finance thing, because that's about raising the finances, but more about things that are not the expenditure and how the money is being used. At what point my question really is, at what point should Gen Z, which is our work generation, have been on the street? Is it yesterday or a little bit much earlier?
Taking the streets, I think when they did, it was okay. You know, I feel like, leave alone the streets, Gen Zs should be involved in the process of like coming up with this finance bill. I mean, they have a whole allocation where they take the member of parliament to one of these big hotels where they discuss the bill, formulate it, have people tender in proposals. We don't have Gen Zs in such rooms, you know. If we could just have like more, like employ more Gen Zs even as like parliament researchers and stuff like that, we would have our input mentioned to them, you know. Because let's say as an MP, let's say for example I'm MP, you are in the manufacturing sector. You know I'm an MP. Utakuja uniambie now, listen, as you I know you're in the budget and whatever committee, as you people are coming up with your things, how about you table such a thing like this one, so that pia hii economy yetu mtuangalie kidogo. Yeah? If you're being honest with each other, really, how many Gen Zs can access the MPs like that and tell them, look, we know this is the time, and which Gen Zs were aware that from when? January? These people have...
From February.
From Feb, yeah. How many people know that these people have been formulating the bill? Our involvement should have begun when they are formulating that bill. We would not have instances of, these people who are unemployed are living with their parents will be paying 300 shillings. And for also to add on to whatever John was saying, if you read this bill keenly, you will realize that we are dealing, for lack of a better word, apologies to anyone who is in the government here, we are dealing with a government that has double standards. Yeah, last year when they were championing for e-mobility, make me understand, the e-mobile thing is like the electric bicycles and stuff was zero rated. In the current finance bill, they're asking that they be charged a 16% VAT. So this thing of saying we want to protect the climate, and then Gafla bin Vu, and now we want to discourage people from importing such things. You look at them saying we want to increase taxes, but in the last year's financial bill, the unpaid installment tax was charged a penalty of 20%. Now make it make sense. Now the same people that are saying we want to increase the taxes so that we can collect more, they are reducing that penalty of 20% to a 5%. See, it's like you're telling business people, mnaweza kakana taxes. And you know, if I'm a business person and I feel like this 5%, it's manageable, I can pay later, I will not remit my whatever taxes in good time. So yeah, the Gen Z should have been involved at the point where they were formulating the bill. We are reacting like this because you're hitting us so much with things that we didn't even expect would be there. We trusted our member of parliament that they are reasonable enough to like put in things that make sense and zinatuangalia hapa na pale.
Mm-hmm.
So the demonstrations were in good time. It's a reaction. We are reacting to whatever was slapped on our faces. Even as an auditor, that finance bill, we dissect it when it becomes like formally out there. You can't see it with the first draft of the finance bill. Even the MPs, before they can present the bill to the country, it's gone through many stages of fine-tuning. So imagine giving people a breakdown of the finance bill when it was in the first stage. Then now in the second, when they are fine-tuned a little, there are new things, there are other things. So yeah, I don't know if you got my point around that.
Yeah, yes, I do, and I'm sure we all do. Before we come back to John and Courtney, I'll engage Catherine at this point. Just even as a parent of Gen Z and having what has gone on the last few days, were you worried that your children were on the street? Did you feel like that was the right way to educate for these things? Are you one of the parents who are like so pessimistic about whether that will yield anything. What was your general, or rather, what's your general feeling about the Gen Zs and being on the streets and their mode of agitation?
Thank you, Liz, for this. And just for the record, let me say I'm a mother of 5. I think they are all Gen Zs because the last was born in 2010. They qualify. And also to say that one of them was actually in the streets, and she called me yesterday to say, Mom, I'm going to the streets. As a parent, I support that our children should stand up and speak for themselves. That's a good thing. And having listened to the discussion here, I still support that the voice of young people need to be heard and to be respected. What I would request our young people, and I would wish to respond to this in the larger arena of growing up in this era and this time, and the energy and the zeal and the youth have, it's very interesting to see that the youth we have now can stand up for a cause and follow it to its logical conclusion. Standing up for a cause is a very good thing for a generation. And what I would say is, as they follow their ideals and with a lot of information available, then there is also need to realize that society does not exist in a vacuum. So there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of information out there. This is a generation which is covered by a lot of information. Now, critical thinking is more called upon than ever, so that as you join a course, you completely understand why you are there for your own personal. You need to have your own personal agenda why you are there. Because what we've seen even psychologically is there is this group behavior. We may call it mob mentality, but it's group behavior. We call it the individuation. When you're in a group, you do not take personal responsibility for the consequences of the actions of the group. And people tend to feel like as a person you are shielded. You are covered by the group protection. But you also need to ask yourself, once you stand with yourself, can you still stand with the same ideals? And that would be very important, so that as you go forward, you have your own personal reasons and your own personal drive where you are there. And it's not just because others are there or others are saying this. So I would also encourage all of us to take time to be informed with what is happening around, and also now to make your own personal decision as you make your voice be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Very, very, very good contribution there coming from a parent, and I like the fact that you say that the voice of the youth needs to be heard, that they are at liberty to express themselves, of course, in a guided manner. Which brings me to a very, very critical question. And I don't know, I can see several of you want to make contributions. I'm going to shoot right straight at you, Courtney. The Gen Z, Generation Z, are you guys crybabies or are you solution-oriented? Because if I may just say a background of why we are where we are, which I know all of you are aware. We have a budget of 4 trillion. We have what we can raise as a country. We have what we can borrow. We have deficit after borrowing and after collecting taxes. What solutions is Gen Z offering in your state to the leadership of this nation? Because the president says, look, out of every 100 shillings, I am paying close to 70 shillings is going to debt. John and the people, the students that he's leading at Laikipia want their help. The people in high school, there's a capitation. there's all these things that are dependent on the 30 shillings that remains out of the 100 of every collected tax in this country. Are you guys solution providers? Are you just good at shooting down staff? What is your feeling, and what role can the youth play in terms of being solution provider in this?
What I can say to that is we are not, I don't think we are crybabies. We are not crybabies, because we have seen what we are asking for is majorly accountability. Because yes, the president is saying out of 100 shillings, he's paying the debt using 70 and all that, but there is still these crazy allocations for things that don't matter, for things that don't make sense according to us as common wananchi. Because like this 800, this government expenditure on trips, on salaries, on unconstitutional offices, all those things are taking up money that could be used to do other things. That's the accountability. I think we need accountability, written, not word of mouth. We need to see this is, you're collecting this amount of money. You passed a finance bill last year. This is the amount of money you collected from that finance bill, because there's this there's evidence. I think the last financial year has been evidence that increased taxation will not really solve the problem, because the taxes that have been collected have not really done what they expected it to do. They have not paid the debts. They have not really done much. So they want to increase it on what grounds? So what I'd say is there's that accountability and sticking and what's the word, appropriation, this appropriation of the funds collected. We need to know, because it's a government for the people. Yes, we elected these leaders, but what are these leaders doing to better this nation? They are not, as it is at the moment, they are really not having the best interests of this country at heart. Yes?
Are you saying you should be involved in the appropriation stage or in the budgeting stage? Because that is where the spending of the resources or the money is collected is happening.
Yes.
Where we say, this is what we are going to do with the money collected.
Yes,
then we can decide, or is your main solution cost cutting? Is that what I hear?
Yes, from what Miriam has said, yes.
Prudent use of resources.
Yes, prudent use of resources, because there is no way you can collect all these taxes and then we're still not seeing change, and you want to increase the amount of taxes, the level of taxation. As Miriam has said, yes, the protest, I think, I spoke to someone who said the protests themselves started a bit late, but they have sent a message. They haven't been in vain, and we have seen what the power of the people can do. We have seen the leaders that are for us and the leaders that are not for us. And people, as we said earlier, people are informed. There are lawyers who've already started breaking down constitutional law in layman terms and telling us what we can do as citizens. And yes,
options for you guys?
Yes, what options we have, because these are people we elected to work for us as Kenyans and represent us in government.
Thank you, Courtney. Let me quickly get Miriam and then Solomon to make their contributions. Miriam?
So I'm responding to your question on whether we are just crybabies. It's very Yes, it would be nice for us to realize that even the Gen Zs that are in the spaces that can make changes are quite few, or even none, I was talking to someone the other day and I told them it's very unfortunate that if they decided not to, even make changes in the finance bill and, vote it in, it would still sail through. Because what does the Constitution say? Whatever is voted for by the August House is what goes through. If we had Gen Zs who were there in part of the people who are making the decisions or actions, it will be a whole different thing. We are not crybabies. We're here telling, like, we can't be like our parents, like the generations back there, they used to just be like, ni mambo ya serikali, unajua upiganange na serikali. At least for us, we are standing up, Yes, we are not in the rooms where we are voting yes or no or whatever, but we are still making our point heard.
Yeah, Martha, you have something to say? Martha?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, you can.
I think my mic had an issue. So Liz, I want to comment on that point that you've asked whether Gen Zs really take action or they're just crybabies. I feel there's a very big difference with the Gen Z and the older generation. Because even when you look at like the general life well-being, for example, for a Gen Z to stay at a toxic work environment is very hard. They will quit and they will say the reason why they are quitting. As opposed to kitambo, utapata, maybe your parents will tell you, or even the older generations will be like, no, vumilia kazi, unajua kazi ni kuvumilia, you just continue working. But for the Gen Z, they know they're right, and they know when they say no, it is no. And then again now for the finance bill that is currently ongoing, I was having a look at it and I just realized that things like the telephone and internet rates, for example, the bundles that we'll be buying and the airtime. Sahi, if you buy credit for Safaricom, ata ya 50 bob ama 100 bob, trust me, you don't know how it ends. The bill has proposed that itakuwa from 15% to 20%. Now it will even get worse. They even want to tax, for example, digital creators. They want to the monetization is going to be taxed, meaning young people who are content creators, and these are the same young people who can't get jobs in these public institutions. Why? Because the older people, you find someone is 50 years and above, lakini bado ameshikilia tu hiyo kazi. But we have a lot of young people who are unemployed. The same young people look for, some loopholes to just make a living through these digital spaces. The same digital spaces, they want to scrap every single little thing out of the hands of these young people. The other thing is also the rates for withdrawing the charges for banks, for these what are they called, these money transaction services such as M-Pesa, Airtel Money and such. Those also the rates have increased from 15%. The proposed percentage is 20%. So I honestly feel like Gen Z going out to the street to riot, there is a big difference. Because wana feel kuna mahali tumefinywa kabisa, na tukiendelea hivi our future will be a future of just struggle and struggle. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. I'll come to Solomon so that we can go to John. I'm sure he has quite a bit of stuff to say. Solomon, please make your contribution.
Thank you. I've heard what everyone has said, and I think I'd also like to address your question when you say that Gen Zs are crybabies. Unfortunately, I would disagree with that statement totally, because just as Martha has articulated, it is Gen Z who will be the first to realize that they're in a toxic environment and that no means no to them. So our generation sits at a unique position where we're able to say no, and we're also able to, because we also know what we want. Now, when you think about the finance bill, particularly, there are two major things that I personally know that as a country we are facing. And the biggest thing that we're facing is really corruption. I heard it from Courtney, who suggested that misappropriation of funds, all of this really boils down to corruption. Yes, the finance bill has to be passed. with this one or another one, regardless, there has to be a finance bill that will be passed for 2024, 2025. But the biggest question that I think we should tackle as a generation, as Gen Z, is to advocate for renewed anti-corruption commissions that are ready to stand and fight the fight of corruption. Once we start with that and stand on that cause, because finance bill will come and will go, there will be something else that will come and will go, and we'll fight again and again. But if as a generation we stop and we say that we are fighting corruption as a generation, I saw there was a thread that was going around on Twitter and on Instagram of the MPs who were saying yes to the bill. If we can start calling out MPs who are misappropriating funds, I think that's a better cause for a generation to stand on than just a bill that will come and will go, a bill that will eventually will be passed, whether it's this one or another one that they will draft. I think as a generation we need to center our minds and our thoughts into fighting one cause, and the biggest cause that is really fighting our country is corruption. So I think those are my sentiments. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Solomon. Quite pertinent issues there. Corruption, I think, has just been the real problem that this country has struggled with for a couple of years, contributing majorly into the issues that we are discussing and why we are where we are. John, while you are at it, and I know you will be responding to the question I asked earlier about whether your solutions are based or whether you're just a resistance movement. While you're at it, I would like to hear from you. What is your view on the Gen Z and your mode of education? For example, there's a Data Protection Act, a whole Data Protection Act, that says we should not tamper or resist, what is it called? That protects people and their personal information. Gen Z has been flashing MPs numbers all over the place. Now we know there are cops whose families have been unequaled on the internet and all that. Are you guys not breaking the law, even in the process and on that? Are we breaking the law while at?
So I will start with that part of data protection. One thing, we as Gen Zs, what we know, the law is equal to everyone. Each and every person is under the law. But sometimes we tend to get to that point where we don't even want to know about whoever that person talking about data protection and so on, because it will not be very fair if, like me as a Gen Z, when I do something, those people are still the same, that will still get my information, my number. When you get to something to do with the bank, all those stuffs to do with, if you have done any case or you have any issue that you are being looked upon or you are being searched by any institution, they will still breach your privacy and get your number and get your personal details. That is it. So we as Gen Z, what we came to realize, if at all these people are talking about data protection, there is no way you can talk about data protection, you protect the data of those MPs, and yet they are public servants. If they are public servants, why should they not share their contacts? And yet we are the people we elected to represent ourselves, to represent the people. So if at any given point they want their numbers not to be shared, then they have to resign from the seat that they are occupying, because they are there courtesy of the voters. From that, let me get to the other point of where you are talking about the crybabies. I guess we are not crybabies. And the solution that we can bring I only have 2 points about the solution. But before that, you have talked about the budget that was being 4.1 trillion, the budget itself. One thing we have come to realization whereby we understand that we don't have parliament. The way things are going, we don't have parliament, we don't have judiciary. All those arms of government, they are already pocketed by the executive. Because if at all, and if they wished not to remove those taxes about bread, the cars, like for that one for the tax for car and the bread, even if they assumed not to remove it, I know those people would have voted yes, and they would have won. The majority would have won against the opposition. That is it. The other thing, we as the Gen Z, I guess we have played a very big role, because by sharing those numbers of the numbers of the MPs, we compared the majority of the MPs of whom they would have preferred to get something else to do and failed to come and vote for that bill. So by us sharing those numbers, we have seen even those who failed to vote in previous finance bill, they were there. And those who voted yes for the previous finance bill, we have compared some to the point that they vote according to our rights. The other thing is about this parliament. The reason I'm talking about we don't have parliament nowadays is because majority of the MPs, even when you hear about them talking, they have audacity of talking anyhow. They don't fear the voters whom elected them. They just fear their master. They are talking about their master. And others, they are very rude when responding to the voters. So by doing so, by sharing their contacts, we are able to reach out to them. We get to those MPs who are
John, you have a problem with sound? You can hear?
Okay, sorry. Someone was calling me. So what I'm saying, by sharing the contacts, we as the Gen Zs sharing those contacts, we are making sure that each and every person is reach out. Each and every member of the parliament is being reached out. If at all you voted yes, and those people whom you represent in your constituents, they are not in agreement with whatever decision that you made. They want to know the reason behind it. And it is very wise and it is very good that we are telling them that come 2027, we are going to fail terribly. We are going to send them home in whichever comes, because they opted to be on the side of the government, which is harassing the voters. The other point is this Courtney talked about the expenditure of the government. Sometimes back, I don't know if this control of the budget, whereby she was talking, she had issues to do with e-citizen and this housing levy. There was a debate that there is no there's no open view or open information about how these accounts are being venye zinaangaliwa ama whatever the amount of money that is getting to this account, the e-citizen and the housing levy, whoever who is accountable, whoever who is...
There was no regulation, there was nobody to regulate it.
There's nobody to regulate that. Such that when you were talking about the national schools, the universities, to pay their fees through like e-citizen. You get majority of the universities which paid their fees through e-citizen. Most of them, the fees never reflected, and they never did the exam because their fees never reflected. So they were being treated as that they never paid that fee. So we have the appropriation of the money to the arms of the government. You find the expenditures, they are not well taken care of. You get, even if they target for, let's say they talk about increasing the tax to get more money, but at the same time, they are not giving us the major projects that they are going to undertake in that specific year of finance, in that specific year. So sometimes we don't have trust with the government. That is it, because when they raise all those taxes, when they get all those funds, they are just embezzled in those funds. You get, like, when you get to the MPs, they can contribute to any amount they want to contribute in the Harambes and so on. But when they get to their constituencies, matters to do with the bursaries, you find there are some constituencies they have never given bursaries, and the few who are giving bursaries, they are giving as low as a 5K. You can imagine giving a student who has a fee balance of, let's say, more than 40,000 in a specific semester. Then you give such a student 5K. It will not benefit that person in one way or the other. And this person is looking to pay the rent, the foodstuffs for that whole academic, for that specific semester, and so many things. So the other thing is the solution. I guess the solution that we have, we as the Gen Zs, the only solution that we can make right now, I don't think we have a specific solution, because these MPs will always follow their master. When you get if it is a Kenya Kwanza, when you get a Kenya Kwanza who is voting against the government, that is a person who is, let me say, he or she knows what took him to the parliament. The other thing so I guess up to that. So the solution that we have is only sending people to their villages when 2027 come. These are the solution, I guess, which it might be, it's not a solution, but the youth are doing it. Is this, when we share their contacts, you get majority of the youth are very bitter, and they are responding, or they are inserting those MPs. So sometimes it might be very difficult, because this person called Commissioner of Data Protection, I guess even her number was shared still in the X app. These are the same people when it was shared. So you get, if herself doesn't want those things to be shared, the numbers of the public servant or the numbers of the MPs to be shared, and yet they are sharing our contacts. Let's say in case like the guy who beaten the police officer, he was tracked everywhere. So when you do anything in this country, your information will be gotten in whichever way. I don't know how they tend to get those information, but in return, when we get the information about these public servants, they tend to imagine that now we are preaching the law, of which that is not true. We must be very equal. We must be very equal. We are all under that law. So I guess that's point.
Yes, just finish.
I guess up to that point, I guess I have responded to the data correction, the data protection, and I have responded to that question of yours about the crybabies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Very good responses there from all of you. I see we have about 10 or so minutes to wind up the conversation. So I will quickly ask 2 questions to each one of you. I think we can just go around and take your views on this. Is the Gen Z ready to take leadership of this country at whatever level? And if so, what are the plans going forward? Whether as a movement, I don't want to call it a movement, but as a united front, are the Gen Zs feeling like it's time that they took over leadership? And how prepared are you guys? And what is the way forward? Yes, John, quickly.
So basically, as Gen Zs, we are very ready to take the leadership roles. When you get to majority of the hours in the campuses, we have various positions whereby we have student leaders, we have others who are leading in various tribal groups. At the same time, when you get to the undercover in the national level, we have some platforms, like we have a platform called Tuga. This is the University Generals. We have another one called Kuka. This Kuka is another one about the Kamba region. And we have so many platforms and we have so many organizations which are being, at this level, each and every student leader or each and every Gen Z who feels he or she is equal to the task. You are getting them, they are participating in those organizations, they are participating in these barazas. When they get anywhere there is a convergement or there is a meeting whereby members are being converged or the youth are being converged for a certain goal, they get to those meetings. Even in the various universities, you get, like, for me, come September, I'll be touring several universities while they are doing their campaigns and their elections. So by doing so, we find the majority of the people, they are trying to convince people, and they are seen to be, they can bring a good leadership in each area of their preference. So we as Gen Z, we are very ready. And for matter of fact, when just wait in 2027, you'll get majority of the people who will be buying the Gen Zs. And
Thank you, John. And I wish you all the best, even as you prepare to take leadership to a national front, away from just another institution. So, Solomon, what is your take on Gen Z preparedness for leadership? Are you guys ready?
Yes, we are ready. I think we're a generation that is not only informed, but also a generation that wants better. The unfortunate bit is that we are coming from a space or we are getting into a space where the economy is not at a very good place. Neither is our debt. So we are coming into, if we are to come into leadership, like you're suggesting, we're coming into a position where we know that there is a lot that is at stake for our future generations as well. But we're not only coming into leadership with the knowledge that we are doing it alone. We would want to engage with the people who are above us, the millennials, and all the other generations that are above us, to really seek to understand, okay, Um, yes, we are young, but we hope that the new ideas that we'll bring on board, the new energy. I think the most important thing that we can bring in terms of leadership is energy. Energy to drive things forward. As you've seen, we are a generation that is radical as well, radical in the thinking. But if we can also collaborate with the generation that are above us, the millennials and all the other generations, it would be important for us to have that kind of collaboration. We just do not want leadership for wanting leadership. You know, we want a leadership that is collaborative. Our mothers, our fathers, our aunties, our grandparents, all of us are Kenyan, you know, and we are all struggling and we are all striving for a better Kenya tomorrow. For us, our children, and for Generation Alpha, and so on and so forth. So, like I said in the beginning, I think for Kenya, the biggest thing is corruption. And if, as a generation, because we have the energy, if we can champion that and make sure that we're bringing in new energy to make sure that we're championing anti-corruption, we're championing the development of new anti-corruption, enforcing anti-corruption laws, making new judicial reforms, institutional reforms that allow us to be able to fight this plague and this cancer that cripples our economy, then I know that it will be possible for us to be able to engage with the future, regardless of how dim the future looks like, because currently it really does look very dim. So the biggest contribution we can bring as a generation is renewed energy for the next generation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Solomon. Yeah, you guys are seemingly ready from what I hear. Martha, your sentiment on whether Gen Z are ready for leadership?
Okay, let me try be as brief as I can, Liz, because we have like 9 more minutes. So yes, I think Gen Z do have the potential of the future leadership, because the main thing is that they don't have any tribalism. When it comes to Gen Z, hakuna story ya watu wa milima ama watu wa wapi. No, it's about, can you lead us and what can you offer us? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I love that. That Gen Zs are united away from the traditional divisions that come out of tribalism, and you're looking at having just a collective. It doesn't matter who leads; you just want a collective solution in leadership. Miriam, I know you had, I think, stepped out briefly. We're just winding up. Courtney, do you have anything to say about the Gen Z preparedness on leadership? Are you ready to take leadership? Are you ready to provide solutions at leadership and governance level?
Yes, we are very ready. And just to echo what has been said already, we are united. It was very refreshing to see people coming out in their large numbers, offering help. And especially in the protests around Nairobi, there was a lot of help needed in offering water, offering medical care, offering legal aid. It was very, it was a show of solidarity and unity against a common, I don't say enemy, but for a common cause, for a common goal. And I'd say what is the first step in from my point of view is to get as many youths empowered and informed and of their rights and of their responsibilities as Kenyan citizens in relation to leadership and governance, to have them registered as voters, to have them aware of current affairs, to have them aware of everything that pertains to governance, because we have gotten to this point as Kenyans because of consistent bad governance and that needs to change as soon as possible. So yes, we are ready.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Courtney. Miriam, please wrap it up for us. Is Gen Z ready to offer solutions at national level in terms of governance? What's your take?
I think they are quite ready. Do they need more mentorship? For sure they do. Rather, we do. If at all their commitment to whatever they were doing on Tuesday and Thursday was not as massive and they didn't show up in large numbers, we wouldn't even be having this conversation today. So when I see people wanting to dilute the efforts of the Gen Zs by saying it was a mob thing, it kind of hurts me in one way or another. I think also it's time for some of these people to retire. Some of these people we call political leaders, because I look forward to a Kenya where we will have leaders who, despite, let's say, you are the president today, and I am your cabinet secretary, I am able to come to you and tell you, President Liz, I'm sorry, if I know you want this to happen, lakini it can't happen like this. Why don't you use this particular approach? Yeah, because it looks like our leaders here really don't have an objective sound. Because if you go through the finance bill, make it make sense to me why our whole cabinet secretary of the treasury has been given veto powers to free someone of excess duty if they're producing spirits from agricultural products. Kwani Kenya ni yake, you know? Even if they want them to have such powers, they should at least even try and ask it. There will be a committee in charge of this. So I think we are ready. We are smart. We have the energy. We are a liberated generation for many reasons. Even some of these workplaces we are in, they are changing. Because you employ Gen Zs, they come in and they tell you, if this is how you do your thing, really, we are not going to do it like this. And because you also need that fresh blood, you're finding some institutions trying to reshape their policies. So we are ready for leadership. Even at home, you said you have a Gen Z kid. Yeah, you go find your kids advising you to do some things and you actually follow through. Yeah, you follow through. You're like, hey, hawa wanajua kitu wanasema, unajua wanaangalianga mambo ya online sana, and you listen.
Yeah.
I also wanted to comment on the thing of data protection. We live in a country that has a lot of double standards. Why is it okay for me to share my Mama Fua's number without her consent to Liz? Because, she's my Mama Fua, you can also call her. And then now when we are sharing MPs numbers who have been elected by the people, their lifestyles are being funded by our taxes. Now they want to scream on top of their voices. No. An eye for an eye. By the way, I support that agenda so much. So that even if you're a kid, your parent is up there, you're telling them, please, as you do whatever you're doing, don't also do things that will put us into shame. Because your number will be shared, my number will be shared. Yeah. So that whole data protection thing.
So that they take responsibility knowing that it will affect all the way to their children.
Yes, I support that thing. They should call everyone who's messing. Actually, next we should be going to visit them at their places. Because
also to add, sorry Miriam, but to add on that Data Protection Act, they have not enacted the policies that they had. That was for that Data Protection Act to become law. They have not. They are not respecting those policies themselves. And again, some of the things that are in that act, they have just blatantly ignored them. And now when it is stinging them is now when they remember that there is something to follow in the constitution. We can't have double standards.
Yeah, it's very funny. It's very funny. So next time we should be visiting them at their houses. See, they are given housing allowance. See, those houses taxes that ndo tunalipia. We also visit them, we tell them, we just want to see how you are living, and we see what is making you make such decisions.
Yeah, my technical team tells me that our time is up. Thank you so very much. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you for finding it important to just have this conversation. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm happy you found time. I look forward to having you guys again.